President Cyril Ramaphosa will appear in Parliament for the first time today after his cabinet reshuffle. He'll answer oral questions in the National Assembly, and this is one of the ways in which Parliament holds members of the executive to account. For more on this, we're joined by the Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly, Lechesa Tsenoli, joins us via our video link this morning. Deputy Speaker, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. That's an important point, isn't it? What I just mentioned, that this is one of the ways in which Parliament members holds the executive to account. Some stern words from the state capture inquiry in how well Parliament has done doing just that, holding the President to account. You know, what do we need to keep in mind as the President takes to the podium today?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. You are right that it's one of those ways, and he appears 4 times a year. No, not 4 times, five times, in a sense, when he presents to us the State of the Nation account. That's an important element of accountability, of transparency, of communicating with the public about what the intentions are, but also to have that statement debated in Parliament. That's the beginning of the year, so that he's held accountable, because without that debate, if that was the mere line and everybody follows, we wouldn't have democracy really. And the second time is, so to speak, when he presents his budget, the president's budget, he presents it, and then subsequently that too is debated. So in addition to this quarterly times that he has to come, and on any other occasion should the matter require his presence in the joint sittings of Parliament, and he can request that, and it is often granted, so that he raises issues such as he has done in the past about the gender-based violence, for example, requesting us to have a joint sitting, so that those matters that he presents are not taken as the line, but are debated, and that's, for me, accountability. I think it's an important, crucial step that we keep alive.
Mr. Tsenoli, the issue of preventing the use of the majority in Parliament, and of course we're talking about the ANC majority in Parliament, the use of that to protect individuals like the President. And we think back to, of course, the years under former President Jacob Zuma, more recently the panel outcomes insofar as the President and the Phala Phala saga is concerned, that robbery that apparently took place at the President's Phala Phala farm. How do you ensure, as someone in your position, that both of those things can be done, that the President can be held accountable, which is the job of Parliament, but that the majority is not used to protect the President?
Firstly, the Constitution itself grants the majority political party the ability to make decisions that smaller parties can't make. This is the decision-making process, which includes necessity for this being a multi-party democracy. In other words, consideration of the views of those who oppose, in this instance, the position that the majority might have. And when it is used, it is often in order to advance its own interests and its views of its interests on what matters at that time. If there are legal grounds to do that, for example, it shouldn't be considered as abuse. It doesn't mean because someone says, like I've just been saying, that it doesn't mean because the President says things are like this in the country, everybody must fall in line with him on that. We open a debate for that purpose. Similarly, the opposition must not assume that because it opposes what the President says, or assumes that what is done is wrong and that he has no legal basis to oppose it, therefore that must be followed by the country. We must balance the two. It is an important critical observation that we should do that. Obviously, there is always an internal. We as presiding officers manage a political debate between parties. We do not ourselves have to enter into pushing them in any one direction unless we do so on the basis of the rules and the law, and we are fair and objective in doing so. We cannot ourselves deny people the opportunity to use what legal room and spaces. Many of us complain about the manner in which some of the legal representatives or people who themselves are facing serious charges are dragging the systems. But it's difficult to deny them that because it is in their legal space. It is allowed to be done. So we must have what is the word? An acknowledgement that perhaps we are impatient with them exploring and exploiting those positions that are available to them for their assumed innocence. But if they are found guilty, there's no question that we must act firmly and without hesitation. And if that wasn't the case, we would not have had decisions taken about President Zuma, for example.
Mm. Mr. Tsenoli, how would you, if you were to score yourself, so to speak, as the Deputy Speaker, if you were to speak for Parliament insofar as reviewing the manner in which, the President has been held accountable, just on the basis of the facts, would you say that you've been doing a great job as Parliament?
No, I don't think we should individualize it. I don't operate like that. I find it difficult to do so anyway, because we come in here organizationally. We act together organizationally. As I speak to you, for example, I speak as a presiding officer, but inevitably, you journalists also ask me positions that, strictly speaking, should be responded to by the ANC, of how it holds its own members accountable, ensures that when they depart from the path of what is appropriate, proper, that it should be taking actions. That's how we should be judged. Not our individual capacity can be very difficult to maintain. So I'm suggesting that we have done the best we could inside an environment that is complex to communicate our views. We do not always win the day. We interact with others, and because we are organizational, we want to ensure that the entire institution, as many political parties are persuaded in the direction of where we should take Parliament. That persuasion does not always produce the desired result amongst members and amongst political parties in the direction of doing what the public will consider to be the most appropriate things.
So 6 questions scheduled for the sitting today. Will there be any flexibility insofar as allowing the President to answer other questions that might not be on the agenda, other issues that might be of national interest?
The questions are 6, but there are 4 times 6 additional supplementary questions. In other words, they are not just 6. Mm-hmm. And the flexibility is inbuilt. This is why you have those. The 6 questions, he is given prior notice. This is the question we're going to ask you. And then the supplementary questions are on the spot given his response. So those are 4 in number for each of the 6 questions. So that's how we must calculate it. The flexibility is inside the system itself, that he responds to 6 questions, each of which has 4 supplementary questions from the opposition parties, who do not have to alert him what their supplementary question is going to be. They do it on the spot.
All right. Thanks for that clarity. The Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly, Lechesa Tsenoli, let me thank you for your time this morning.